Good afternoon. Welcome to Soni Irabor Live. Here in the studio, we have our guest for today, an important guest for that matter, the man who is at the helm of currency right now. When I say currency, I don't mean naira. I mean currency as in current events, unfolding happenings, and all that. Olujimi Kolawole Agbaje, popularly known as Jimmy Agbaje, was born March 2, 1957, and is a Nigerian pharmacist. He's a politician and the Lagos State governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2015 gubernatorial election. And he's right here with me in the studio. He went to St. Gregory's College, Lagos, and University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University. His religion is Christianity, and his nickname, JK, or Jaykay. Either way you look at it, JK is with me in the studio, and you're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Soni.
I'm so glad you could make it. I was apprehensive with all the changes, all the anticipations, nothing, not too sure what was going to happen next. I said, wow, these politicians, they will now cancel and say, okay, we're going to re-strategize.
Not for Soni Irabor Life.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank
not
you.
for Soni.
Thank you, indeed. Well, you decided to take the bull by the horn by coming into politics. I've been asking myself, how come?
Well, I suppose sometimes I ask myself, but let's say it all started with activism. You know, you had a situation where in 1993, I believe it was, we had elections. We all voted, and somebody or some people just decided to annul the elections. And personally, I just felt like somebody slapped my face directly. And so I joined the struggle, as they say, went into the trenches to protest the annulment. And so I was in the civil society groups fighting the military at that time. And I think that's where it all started. From there, of course, in 1998, Abdul Salam Abubakar, after Abacha's death, took over and lifted the ban on politics. And of course, at that time when we were fighting the military, you had a lot of my friends who were like, Jimmy, what's your own? Go and face your business. Well, look, you can't beat the military and all that. And I think what happened was the day he died, some of us got together. And, you know, there were people who were like, you mean he could really die? You know, that kind of thing. How did we allow this to happen? How did we bring our country to this level? And we decided there, you know, just a small group of friends that, you know, never again, and that we were going to do something to ensure that we wouldn't have that kind of a regime again in our country, and that what we needed to do first was to begin to see those who would take over since the ban on politics had been lifted. We didn't have any interest personally. So the idea was, let's encourage those who want to. And so we were like kingmakers, if you want to put it like that, in 1998, 99.
But would you say since that time that things have improved or changed for the better?
They have improved, maybe not as fast as we want, maybe not as well or as deep as we want. But, you know, it's easy to think they haven't improved until you go back and think of what happened in those days. That the fact that you can sit down today and speak your mind, the fact that you are working a process that is moving very slowly, but at least is moving in a more positive direction than a negative direction. You know, so for me, it's important that we know that democracy is not something that is going to happen overnight, especially when we've been with the military for so long. It's going to take time. I mean, even
but now we're 16 years on.
But 16 years. Even our politicians, you know, still pass orders like they're the military. So it's going to take time, you know, to wear that, to take that garb off our situation. But we're still better under a civilian dispensation than a military regime.
Okay. You're the governorship candidate for PDP in Lagos State.
Yes.
And it's been a battle.
Oh, yeah. It's expected to be. It's never expected to be easy.
It's a battle that everybody is looking with interest.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, you are the soldier in the field, probably the commander-in-chief in the field at this stage. What are you encountering? What are you experiencing?
Well, it's two ways. For me, I want to run. I'm running. I want to win To win means that I've got to convince people because I'm running against a ruling party or a candidate on a ruling party that has been there for 16 years. So very entrenched. So my job is I've got to tell the people that, we can do it differently. I've got to be able to sell my ideas of how I'm different from the present from the ruling party. So that's important, and that means that I've got to have better ideas. I've got to also be able to find a way to reach out, bearing in mind that in politics everybody plays on his strength. So I do not, for example, have the kind of resources that the ruling party has. I do not even have the kind of reach that they have in terms of easy reach because they're already they're government, So these are some of the challenges that you face. So I have to run twice as hard.
Okay. Will you have a manifesto?
Oh yes, definitely.
Can you roll them out for me?
Well, we'll be here all day. But basically, we got bold ideas, new opportunities. I'm trying to show Soni my manifesto here.
Yes. GETTV is covering it, so you can show it to the camera.
Okay,
actually.
There it is. Bold ideas, new opportunities. So we do have a manifesto, and basically what we're saying is that for Lagos, in terms of moving forward, we have to put governance on what we call a tripod. A tripod now that there are three things that are very basic and very important for a global megacity like ours. Security, of course, of life and property, of the environment on one leg. You got education on the other, and health on the third leg. So basically that we've got to get those three right. Security, health, education. And then we look at all the things that build on that. Then we begin to talk about things like transportation. You can't have a global megacity that doesn't have a good mass transit system. In fact, it's only Lagos and Karachi, I believe, in Pakistan, are the only two megacities, that do not have a rail system in terms of mass transit. So you've got to get...
You mean worldwide?
Yes. So you've got to look at that. Don't forget, the only two megacities... Well, when I say, I mean in Nigeria, of course, Kano is also a megacity. But those are the two major megacities that do not have a rail system working. So we've got to get our transport right. And that's very important.
Lagos is massive. I'm not sure now which is which, 20 million or 22 million strong. That's a whole country, if you ask me.
It is.
And I'm seeing, as you said, somebody has been there for, the government has been there for 16 years.
Yes.
But so has it been at the center as well.
Sure.
So what is the countermeasure you can do to, manage to penetrate and win, a sitting government, as you think?
Well, basically what we're saying is that 16 years after, in Lagos, 4 trillion naira after, how much value have we got for money? I'm not saying there hasn't been improvement. There's been improvement. But how much of improvement? I think what we've had is basically what we call incremental increases rather than leapfrogging. Global megacity of our nature must be leapfrogging. And like I said, there are basics that must be in place. So what we're saying is we can't have a global megacity of today's world that doesn't have its education right. So if we have a situation where, if you judge by the last O-level results, most of our children failed the O-levels than those that passed. That's with 5 credits, maths and English in Lagos.
In Lagos?
In Lagos. So if you still have that, then we're in trouble now. You're comparing yourself now with other cities and other countries that are talking of how many scored A's and A pluses.
Are you aware of the intricate and delicate problem of Lagos?
Yeah, that's the whole idea. And that's why we're saying that some things have to be, the fundamentals that have to be addressed.
I'm saying something that has developed over time and it's not that easy to break. It's like a Nigerian problem. Do you think it's something you can just get through overnight like that?
You can. I mean, let's talk education, for example. I mean, what we're saying with education is that government has not paid enough emphasis on primary education. They've paid very little attention to primary education, even in terms of budgeting, in terms of the kind of facilities available to primary education. Now, what that means is that our children, in fact, you find that most children at the primary level are in private primary schools rather than public primary schools. And you know that a lot of the private primary schools, there are a lot of them that are mushroom. So you have a situation where the primary education is so faulty, and you then push them into secondary school and you expect them to do well. There's no way they're going to do well. So we're saying in terms of strategy, in terms of moving forward, we've got to go back to basic education. And then again, we're not talking about reinventing the wheel. We're talking about what happens all over the world. We talk about the Facebooks and all the innovation and creativity that takes place in our world today. Those children or those youths who have, created this, all the Zuckerbergs, the Bill Gates, and the Steve Jobs, are people who benefited from good basic education. It was their university dropout, so it wasn't university education that that showed them the way. It's because they had sound basic education, and we must put our children through sound basic education. Okay. And I think that's missing. And it's not something that cannot be done. Don't forget that in this part of the country, there was a time under the Awolowo regime where they put up to 40% of their budget on education. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to put 40% on education. But
what are you saying?
I'm just telling you that you're going to place a lot more emphasis on education because it is key to moving forward. In fact, for us, outside security, it's priority number one.
Okay, we're taking a short break and we'll be right back.
Káàbọ̀.
Meet one of Nigeria's famous batik designer, painter, textile designer, art educator, and gallery owner, Chief Nike Davis Okundaye. She is known for her colorful batik and paintings that offers a modernist gloss of traditional themes.
Welcome back to the program. In fact, it's so packed today with all the commercials and the messages, and I'm not going to play music at all. I'm just going to go straight to the point. And Mr. Jimmy Agbaje, alias JK, is here with us. He's the PDP gubernatorial candidate for Lagos State. And, of course, he's now telling us why we must and should vote for him. And so we're taking it from there, Mr. Agbaje. This is a question from Facebook. One, Mr. Jude Ayingbo says, doing business in Lagos is very challenging with many multiple fees, taxes, permits, and so on, hence causing businesses to relocate to neighboring Ogun State. What plans does JK have to lift this burden off our shoulders?
Yeah, I mean, it's very correct. Lagos is very guilty of not being very business friendly. Lagos has worked more from the fact that its location, the fact that it's been the former capital and all, and that has worked for it. But we're losing out, and there are many things happening today that we have to that we have to realize that Lagos is losing in terms of competitiveness and livability. You have the railways, for example, working today. The more the railways begin to work, then the less people have to be in Lagos. The less industry has to be in Lagos. It means they can be nearer their raw materials, produced from there, and shipped to Lagos. It means that people don't have to stay in Lagos once the rail system starts to work well. They can stay out of Lagos where it's cheaper and all. So basically, it's for us to say, what do we have to do right? Again, it's important that we're more business friendly, and you look at things like getting permits. Yeah. Again, if you look at Lagos, construction permits, for example, Lagos, a World Bank survey makes Lagos the worst state in Nigeria to get approved plans. So
World Bank survey.
Yeah.
Is that quoted anywhere?
No, yeah. I'm giving you official survey in the 36th state of 36. That's Lagos in terms of getting construction permits. So what that means, the implication of that is that you're telling business that we're not you're not welcome in Lagos. Go to Ogun State or wherever and go and get your factories set up. What you're telling people is, we don't really care whether you build houses or not.
How are you going to be able to make a difference in that way?
Yeah, because what it means is that what you have is there's a lot of bureaucracy involved, and that's why it's 36 out of 36. There's a lot of bureaucracy. It's very expensive. Again, Lagos is guilty of using regulation as a means of generating income.
Well, let me quickly come in there. They have also complained that the center was not helping out when it comes to getting the allocation and things like that. So many things were denied them according to
I don't know what
claims earlier made by,
No. I mean, everybody gets his own allocation. I'm not sure that's it. It's about internally generated revenue, which is fine. Okay. But then it's, where do you draw the line? Lagos is guilty of, we need to raise money, definitely. We need to tax people. Okay. But what I'm getting at is you don't use regulation in a way that suppresses all the other good things that should come out of it.
Okay.
So if, for example, the idea is you need to get an approved plan so that your building doesn't break down, that doesn't collapse. Yeah, but then in the process, you then charge me everything. And it means you're discouraging me. You tell me it takes me a year, it takes me 2 years to get my approved plan. You're discouraging me. So these are some of the things that are not right. Of course, we've got the issue of taxes. Again, in terms of regulation, you have things like LASMA. I'm not, pleased for the records, I'm not saying LASMA will go. All I'm saying is that if you have a traffic contravention today, first, the kind of fees you are asked to pay for minor traffic contravention is in itself killing. But that's not where it ends. Okay. It ends in the sense that they then say, where's your tax clearance? Where tax clearance for 2 directors? And it's like, hey, come on. All I did was a minor traffic contravention. Yeah. Why are you now bringing the whole world on me, kind of? These are the kind of things that one is talking about, that cannot be the way forward because it is oppressive. And nobody feels good in a very oppressive environment, And these are probably some of the things where we're taking away from the military, that we still have that hangover, that it's not meant to work like that.
Are you familiar with a country that sees the rule of law as the yardstick for measuring progress and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay, if you are, how do you consider Nigeria and then Lagos in terms of following the rule of law, either through leadership structure or through followership structure? This is a general question now.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point. That, rule of law is that I must have some rights. So if you do give me...
Well, what if you are prone to abusing rights, taking privileges for granted?
No. Maybe the way I put it like this. There are regulations, there are guidelines, there are laws that you must follow. But in the process, let me give an example. Let's talk about taxes. You present, as a company, you present the payroll of your staff. And government says that cannot be the payroll. And kind of puts its own payroll and taxes according to that payroll. Now, the question is, if government has evidence that what they have put is correct, it's a different matter. But then if they don't have evidence and they just say, well, we've looked at all of you and we think that this your payroll that you have declared is faulty, and therefore this is the new payroll, and you better pay or else we're going to seal up your premises. Now, the question is, where are my rights as an employer of labor? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I must have some rights. It's okay if you have evidence, that I'm wrong. But if you don't have evidence, then what do? I have no choice but to pay. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go to specific questions because many questions are flying from every which way now, from Twitter and the likes. But let me go straight to another form of campaign that I'm beginning to see unravel itself in Nigeria. Again, I want to make it global this time. Mudslinging.
Yeah.
What's happening?
That's sad.
Why are you guys attacking one another instead of facing issues?
Well, I'd love to face issues, and I'm not into mudslinging. In fact, I've tried to run away from it as much as possible because that's not the way forward. I mean, the whole essence of politics is it's got to be about ideas. It's got to be, look, and that's why we say we're talking about ideas. Let's talk. Let's convince the people that we've got better ideas, and that's how it should be. But once it comes to mudslinging, then it gets dirty. Then it's like you're running away from the issues. The people suffer. Secondly, you're encouraging violence at some stage, because not everybody takes a joke now. So if I can take a joke, it's okay. But those who can't take a joke tend to react violently. So you want to avoid that, and I don't think that's the way forward. For Lagos, it wasn't the way. I think this is a new development for me as far as Lagos is concerned. It's generally been, look, let's have fun, let's enjoy it.
So now you're talking about violence, and that worries all of us because lately there have been expression of violence from supporters of both parties, and there are other parties, for God's sake, but two are the major ones. So,
well, it's the major ones.
What's the guarantee that from your end, your side of this whole divide, what's the guarantee that your supporters will not go violent? What are you doing to tell them, please do not be violent in this and that?
The records are there. We've been holding our rallies, we've been holding town hall meetings. We haven't had any casualties. Can't say the same for the ruling party. But then what we tell them is simple. We want to win these elections. We believe we can win the elections. So, ladies and gentlemen, why do you want to kill yourself before we win? We believe we've got better ideas, and we're going to sell those ideas. So please, no violence. And that's my message generally at rallies and all. That, look, we're going to win. We have better ideas. And so you better be alive rather than be dead. So you don't need to be violent.
Okay. Here's a tweet question. Somebody's asking, what plans do you have for Lagos toll gates? As only Lagos still operates tolls after the Obasanjo administration abolished it.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm very clear on the records that you're going to have tolled facilities, definitely. But I've spoken with respect to one, and that is the Victoria Island Ekpe one.
Okay.
That one. Again, because for many reasons. One is that the PPP arrangement that was put in there, one cannot say was exactly transparent and honest. Again, the state government is guilty. If you look at a lot of the PPP arrangements that it has put in place, has not been put in place properly. And so you find that they have more or less collapsed. I mean, you come from the BRT, you talk about the Lekki one, and you find that it has not been able to stand the test of time because of the way they have been put together. You talk about the light rail, the blue line is there. It should have been ready since 2012. When 2015 is not on board yet because, like I said, it has been faulty. So,
do you think that when you come in, you'll be able to conclude it, or what?
Oh, definitely. Oh, we have to. We need a real system.
What time are you giving to that? What time span are you giving to it?
To the blue line.
Yes. If you do come.
Well, let's put it like this. I take it as very, very critical that we must have our rail lines moving. There's no way we're going to have a mega city. So it has to be as soon as possible. But again, you need to know where exactly they are at this point in time. But it looks like it is grounded at the moment. And the reasons are not known to the public why it's grounded. All we hear is maybe there's no money. But you never really know the real story until you get there. So let me just say for the records that it is a priority to get the lines working. Not just the blue line, but we need to have at least 4 to 5 lines working in Lagos over the next 10 years.
All right, so we're taking a second break, and we'll be right back. After which, of course, we will go public with your phones. Many tweets are coming in, Facebook questions. I'm trying to accommodate all of them. Phone calls, of course, they take priority. And then 33923 for short messages. Don't forget. We'll be right back after the break.
Káàbọ̀.
Meet one of Nigeria's famous batik designer, painter, textile designer, art educator, and gallery owner, Chief Nike Davis Okundaye. She is known for her colorful batik and paintings that offers a modernist gloss of traditional themes.
Vibes here in Lagos, Nigeria. Come here. This is where the party's at.
Welcome to the second part. This is where we go very interactive. Many questions are coming in. I have on the Soni Irabor Live, Soni_Irabor at live.com. That's my email address. And then some questions from Twitter, some from Facebook. I'm just trying to sieve how best I can. Somebody's talking about teachers' leave allowance. Another person is talking about plans for artisans, e.g. Okada rider, roadside market women, and things like that. Well, where do we start? Let me start with the teachers. So how are you going to improve teachers' salaries? Talking about leave allowance, teachers in Lagos don't receive leave allowance for more than 8 years now. I'm quoting the verbatim. What will you do to tackle it? How do you hope to improve on the current education policies of Lagos? 2, what are your plans to rid Lagos of Agberos? 3, how do you intend to strengthen low-cost housing scheme and ensure due process? 4, we talked of a highly corrupt blah 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 blah. This Anya Undubisi Udonsi.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got quite a lot of questions back
Yes.
there. Well, let me try and do a good job of it as briefly as possible. You talked about teachers' allowances and all that. It's not only teachers that are not paid their leave allowances in Lagos State. The reality is that the public service has not been paid leave allowance in upwards of 5 years. So that's not anything. In fact, our Lagos does not pay minimum wage, national minimum wage. We have a national minimum wage of 18,000 naira. Lagos State government still pays as little as 12,000 naira. So for me, the way I read that is that they really place very little value on the public service, and that's not the way to go. If you're looking at a sustainable development system, you must have a civil service, a public service that is working for the state, rather than have ad hoc arrangements of consultants and all that. Consultants are expected to come in briefly and go out, rather than have them on a permanent basis. And so that explains why the public service is not treated well enough, because they don't seem to be considered as relevant. You talked about what else?
Of course,
education.
Yes.
Education. What do you want to do about education? Again, I have said a bit about education, that we need to get the primary right. But let's talk about skills, technical and vocational skills, because that's very key. If the National Bureau of Statistics did a survey of unemployment, and what you find is that there's no artisan that is unemployed. In other words, it's an area that
you must earn a living one way or the other.
You can earn a living any way you go, which way you go. But what matters is that the kind of living is now where the challenge comes for government. Like I keep saying, that when you're looking at the photographer, you're looking at the welder, the mechanic. Rather than create a mechanic that can just live hand to mouth, you create a mechanic that is at a higher level. You have a photographer who's on subsistence living. You create a photographer at a higher level. And that's the challenge that you have in terms of technical and vocational skills. And that's the kind of thing we have to be aiming for, that our artisans must be looking up rather than just down. Our mechanics are used to analog engines, whereas we're using digital engines today. So with digital engines, they cannot repair these cars, and that means that they cannot even hire space for workshops, and that's why they're on the road. So they become a problem. And so these are some of the things you begin to look at and say, how all you need is some basic retraining or remedial to be able to get that mechanic to be able to handle digital engines. Okay. And the institutions that are there, that you encourage them to go through so that they can come out and be able to earn good income.
Okay. Somebody's saying that how do you intend to give youth at least 30% affirmation in your cabinet?
30% of?
Appointees, youth being given responsible roles.
Yeah. Again, I'm one of those that have fought against having youth groups, because I've always told the youth that I don't see why they must be in a youth group. They should be part of the main group. Maybe because the way I started my service after university. I mean, I left university and after my youth corps, I believe 2 years after I joined my association, I was an active member of my association, not as a youth, but as a full-fledged pharmacist. And so I'm saying any youth should be able to join the organization. And the more of them that join, then the more of them that go into government. But rather than this situation where you say, Jimmy Agbaje says, okay, I'm going to give 30% of the youth. In politics, you can give 30%, that means nothing. So I'm saying, no, why not earn your stripes and be part of the process, and in your own right, begin to be part of government as a valuable member.
Okay. 277 3923 631 0923 632 0923 767 8923 7776 8923 and 767 3923. Well, you know those numbers, so please call. And the phones have been crying. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Uncle Soni, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Aoting.
I was saying?
Yes, I just tell him that we're expecting much more than what he's saying.
Okay.
Like the Aja-Lekki-Ekpe Express Road, we all know, we live there, the road has failed us. We're expecting him to say something like, I'm going to leave only one toll gate. That road has to be maintained. And then I'm going to reduce the cost of the toll you pay. And then I'm going to convert all those roundabouts that cost the road a failed road. to flyovers where we could all pass. If you're going to via Lekki Phase 1, then you just go down. And if you're going to Aja, you go up because our road has failed without those things. Then number 2, I'm expecting him to say, now primary education is fundamental. Then let there be allowances for teachers that teach English and maths to encourage more maths and English teachers to teach these children so that when they get to secondary school, it will be a walkover for them.
Okay.
You know, that's my own contribution.
Those are things you're expecting to say. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, I would say.
Can I beg you, let me take as many calls because they are just blinking. And there's 0909 0000 923. Hello. Hello, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go straight to the point.
Yes. Good afternoon, Agbaje.
Good afternoon.
Yes. I want to send an appeal that in addition to your campaign, you do what was done to NNPC account. There should be a forensic audit. We have too much money in Lagos
Forensic
on account.
audit.
Yes. There is what they call the accountant general and all the rest of Lagos State. Please, in addition, let there be transparency in accordance with the Constitution. Let us know that we taxpayers get for our money.
Okay. Your line is not very clear, ma'am.
Hello?
Your line is cracking. So
Hello?
She's made a point. Forensic audit.
yeah, can you quickly conclude so that I can hear?
Yes. You were an activist in the military. Try and be an activist to democratic people who don't want to act democratically.
Okay. Thank you very much. And hello. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my governor, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You are my brother. I want you to do 3 things for me. Housing, affordable housing, please, for the poor people, the market women, the artisans. Not like that type they are building now at Ilubireo. These are people who are going to vote for you. When you get there, please, my brother. Less than 3 million, you can get us 2-bedroom, 4-bedroom bungalow. It's possible, my brother. Then education. Now, and there's something I noticed on Third Mainland Bridge. Your billboard. Not happy about what they did. I don't know who did that. Your billboard and the president on, they probably think on every one of your billboard on that road. I'm not happy about it.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So please, when you come in, I will not have the opportunity to talk to you again. I will remind you.
Okay.
Double chief, you know who is talking, right?
Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you. Okay, now. Hello. I'm going to take as many calls as possible so that we can...
Hello,
Yeah.
good afternoon, Uncle Soni.
How are you? Good afternoon.
I'm very fine.
Yes.
Good afternoon. I'm Mr. Jimmy, I greet you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, I live on the Aja axis too, and I overheard the last lady that called the radio talk about the Aja axis. Honestly, she just felt my mind out. I hope, because to be honest with you, if I'm going to be voting at all, my vote for Lagos State is for PDP, because I want change for the Aja axis. We need overhead bridges, just at the Aja roundabout, even at Jakonde, and honestly for the toll gate. If there's a way we can make the toll gate 50 naira, it even make a lot of sense. The 120, I drive a car and I pay 120, and I fly that road once in a while, 6 times in a day, and you know what that is to me. I'm aware, I've been waiting for you. I wanted to talk to you deliberately, so I waited for you to come on Inspiration FM. As I'm passing Ajana, I can see PDP people. I don't know if you're coming this way, but honestly, they are expecting you. Sajini, please, there's so much alternative routes around this place. From Ikota, there's a way you can link Ikota to Ilaje. From there, you can even link Ogombo, Okwaja, Abramadesoya. Those roads are bad. If government can make those roads motorable, life will be much more easier around this place.
Okay.
Once when you're going home, there's so much traffic, you waste a lot of time, you waste your fuel, your car, and all of those things.
All right.
Honestly, we need change in this axis. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys are so smart. You never have comma or, everything. No full stop.
So you can't break it.
And 0909 0000 923. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm James calling from Lagos.
Okay.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Jimmy.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for coming. Number one, you are so intelligent. Two, sir, there's something that's going on in Lagos State for today.
non-speaking Yoruba indigenous and don't issue their TVC cards. And you know very well that majority of them are PDP supporters, and they're going to vote for you, sir. The INEC official in Lagos State are the compromise. Sir, I don't want you to be crying after the election have been leaked out because of this. The INEC commissioner in Lagos State should be changed. You must fight for this because it is going to affect your election. Sir, do something about this. It's very, very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
My name is David Morrison. I want to talk to my incoming governor.
Okay, go ahead.
Uncle Jimmy, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, David.
Yeah, I want to thank God for your life. I'm from Ndibo in PDP. I want to ask you a question, striking question that has been bothering me, which you are aware that the present government has injured so many ethnic groups in Lagos. That has bring differences among us, that there is no trust. If not God, we would have had what is happening in Northeast here in Lagos. What is your plan to unify Lagos? And moreover, I implore you by the mercies of God to look into the provision of infrastructure. Some streets, if care is not taken, will not be bad when the crisis comes. They are just fooling us.
Okay.
And again, what is your plan to bring down corruption in Lagos State?
Okay.
God bless you.
Thank you. So let me allow you now to answer these questions. About 5 calls, I think there were. I'm not sure.
Well, 5 calls and I don't know how many questions.
So many.
I think very quickly for Awuse is that I wish I had time to go into detail as she's done, but in a program like this, it's very difficult. But talking about the Ajax is generally because a number of questions came up there. The reality is that definitely that road needs to be completed right to Ekpe. Somehow there's like a jinx. Every time you start that road, it's never completed. The PPP arrangement, like I said, has collapsed, and now there's no PPP on that express. It's a purely government affair, and so that road needs to be completed. Yes, there's been the talk of the flyovers in terms of, especially at the key roundabouts there, and that's something obviously that has to be addressed. But more importantly is that don't forget that that entire axis, you're going to have the export-free zone, you're having a deep-sea port, you're having a refinery.
Busy
so
access.
You find that the real solution, the longer solution to it is the rail service, because there's no way we're going to have enough roads or enough road network to handle the kind of traffic that is coming there. And that's why I said that we must do the rail system so that we can ease traffic on that axis. But that's the way I would address it in the little time I have. Affordable housing, it's important. Even by its own admission, the present government admits that 70% of those that live in Lagos live in substandard housing. And that means when you're living in substandard housing, you're talking about creating slums all over Lagos. And so you must have affordable housing. You cannot have housing for only the very rich or the rich. The government, or those in government in the last 16 years have built less than 5,000 housing units, even in partnership with the private sector.
Do you think you're going to do better?
Oh, yes, definitely. We're saying that it's time that we look at doing 150,000 over the period of 4 years.
150 in 4 years?
Yes, in 4 years. We're not going to, it's not government that's
Wouldn't
going
that
to build
gulp
it.
resources?
No, that's why I said it's not government that's building, it's building in partnership with the private sector. And basically what you're doing is government's share or partnership is the land that is provided, not at the current rates, but for affordable housing, you're reducing that cost. We talked about the bureaucracy that is involved today in Lagos State. If you reduce the bureaucracy, then you reduce costs. And then you've got to talk about industrial scale housing. It's like you have to mass produce houses. Lagos has a 2 million unit deficit. We need about 200,000 plus housing units every year to be able to catch up. So what it means is that you must be mass producing these houses. It's not enough to build 5,000 housing units, or under 5,000 in 16 years. So that's with regards to that. Well, the billboard, you talked about billboard defacing. Yes, it's unfortunate. I think we had mentioned a bit of this in the past, that at the beginning of this program. Well, I've said that those billboards will remain there because, rather than go violent or go in a negative manner, let's show the people for what they are. So I've said that those billboards will remain so that people can see what happens. It's unfortunate and it shouldn't be. Again, you talked about the INEC. Yeah, there's been a lot of complaints by non-indigenes as to INEC. Let me say that, the whole essence, I said that I come from an activist background. And, from the activist background is that you must fight for your rights. You must fight for what you want. Nobody gets it on a platter of gold. If there's the feeling, whether rightly or wrongly, that you are being discriminated against, then it's time to rise and say, you know what, we're going to get those cards whether you like it or not. We're going to insist that we're citizens and we have a right to those cards. And what I tell people who come to me is, you tell me that you have gone to the ward or to the polling unit and you are clear that your name is on the list, on the voters register, and they say the cards are ready and you have been deprived, then we will come in. But you must take that first step. You must fight and get those cards because we need you to vote. Lack of trust. Well, again, my message in terms of trust in non-indigenes is very clear. I've always taken the position that the whole essence why Lagos bubbles is that it takes both the indigenes and non-indigenes. And I tell my indigene Lagosians that, the day you drive away non-indigenes, then our Lagos will become a village. In a village, nothing much happens. In a village, the landlord has no tenant to take his house. The landowner has nobody to buy his land. And in fact, has very little business to do. So, and the reality is that Lagos is like London in the UK, is like New York in the United States. And rather than try to discriminate or to drive away or to deport non-indigenes, that the way forward is that we need to create what we call new urban communities. It's called conurbation, where we're creating a Lagos that presents an Alimosho like a Victoria Island, where Soni is enjoying his radio program here, that a Badagry, and Ikorodu are developed in a way that people can stay there, because that way it absorbs everybody that comes. Because there's a flow all over the world. It's not restricted to Nigeria. There's a rural-urban migration that nobody can stop. And rather than try to stop it, or to reverse it, the way forward is that we must get ready to absorb this, and that's very important. Okay. I think there was a mention of corruption.
Yes.
Again, we all agree that corruption is a big problem for us, not just at every level, at the federal, at the state, at the local government, even in the private sector. Every aspect of our lives now has been affected by corruption, and we must fight it. But you only fight corruption when you lead by example. And that is important, that you must lead by example. Okay. If you don't have the moral right to fight corruption, then it just continues to fester.
All right, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. The program is gradually going to the end, but let's see how it goes.
Vibes here in Lagos, Nigeria. Come here. This is where the party's at.
Inspiration Radio, Soni Irabor live with Jimmy Agbaje, governorship candidate for PDP, Lagos State. And we're talking. Another question just coming in. Wow, social media, one up for you guys. What's your idea as regards improving and reducing the high cost of transportation in and around Lagos State, for instance, and the issue of organized crime as regards how area boys in Lagos harass and extort money from motorists and ordinary civilians?
Okay. Well, transportation, again, it's a supply and demand thing. So if you don't have good transportation, then, of course, you're going to have the kind of costs that go with it. And that's why I said you need a mass transit system. The more people you have a vehicle carrying, the cheaper it gets. And that's why the mass transit becomes very important. And what you find in other countries is that even where the cost is high, government subsidizes to a level that the average citizen can move. But you need to have that system in place first, and I think that's the way forward. I mean, the little time I have to explain it. Okay. You talked about the Monile or the Agberos and things like that. Again, it's a fallback to our education system. It's like each time those O-level results come out, and you get hundreds of thousands of people who don't pass. What tells you immediately is that you're creating more of these Agberos. That is the reality, because many of them are going to end up out there. And so the first thing to do is to ensure that you get that education right. And that's why I said education is priority number one. You've got to get it right so that you're producing less of those. Now, again, you're looking at the technical and the vocational aspect of it. Not everybody is sound in terms of, call it the bookwork, but they're very good with their hands. And that's where technical and vocational skills come in. So that you're able to divert quite a number of them into technical and vocational skills where they can do things. Again, you find that many governments, and I think Lagos, well, I know Lagos is also guilty, is that they've used the local government structure rather than its governance structure. You know, our local government is not used as a governance structure. It's used more as a political machinery. So when you use it as a political machinery, it means you're bringing all these people together and they're part of your political machinery. And so you like roll them out and they continue to create the problems that they create. And so it becomes important that you're looking at local government away from that and putting it towards more to governance than to politics. Okay. So you don't continue to encourage. The idea is to discourage the flow into this sector. And that's why I said, first you address the education, the technical, vocational skills, and then those that are out, you begin to look for other things for them and gradually phase them out, at least reduce them to minimum.
Okay, we're going to take the game we normally play when we're towards the end of the program. Hello. Oh, yeah? You have 30 seconds to ask your question. 30 seconds. Just go straight to the question. Please, my brother.
Good afternoon.
Thank God. My question is this. You are ready to cancel Lekki toll gate. And, pull the oil from $100 down to $50 right now.
Yes.
And Lagos is making money. Now, if you come in now, you enjoy that tax money being made by Lagos State government. If you cancel this thing, how you get money to tackle all this spread? Number one. Number two, is it true you did not pay tax for your JK power system? If it is true, let us know.
Okay.
Because Lagos is being developed with the tax.
Okay.
And again, finally, Lagos Badagry Expressway is being tackled by Lagos State government. Sagam, this Ikorodu Road is federal road. It's being developed by Lagos State. It has no task to do all this. How will all this thing happen?
Okay.
That's my question.
Thank you. All right, 30 seconds. Next person. Straight to the point.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Go straight to the point.
Please, I want to ask a question. First, two questions. First, what does JK mean?
Okay.
Second is there's this normal people saying that you are the right person in the wrong party. Please, I want to know how true is that. Okay. And third, please.
You said two questions and now you are saying three. What am I supposed to do now?
Talk about hospitality, please. Hospital.
Okay, all right.
Healthcare, please.
Thank you. Okay, hello. One last question. 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Part of please, sir, I want you to do something about the primary school teachers because I find that many of the primary school teachers are not doing well.
Okay.
Because they are working out, you guys are not doing them well.
Okay.
Imagine a teacher that a level 16 officer that retired, nothing to show. Some of them died before their time because stress. You people are not doing these people well. Please do something about it.
All right. So those are the questions. Please go ahead. We're just 2 minutes to go.
All right, thank you. Well, 2 minutes is tough, but let's see. Primary school, I think I've said quite a bit about about education. And basically what you're talking about is teacher development and welfare. I'd mentioned this even when mentioning the public service, that the government today has not shown that it recognizes their importance. And we're saying that we're going to change that because we believe that that is a sustainable way. And I think that would address your issue. JK, very quickly, come from my initials, but don't forget that my business is JK Pharmacy, so it was a good brand, and I thought I could use that brand when I started my politics. I'm normally referred to as JK, so that is that. To the question of...
so Jimmy and what? K is what?
I'm actually Joseph Olujimi Kolawole,
Okay.
Agbaje, so the JK. but the JK, for many of us in my family, actually comes from my father. My
Okay.
father was fondly known as JK.
Oh.
So setting up my business was more, shall I say, immortalizing him at that time. So and we've rolled since then. That's where JK is coming from. My tax, serial tax evader, I think was the word. No, I'm not. Definitely not. I believe the governor definitely was playing politics and attacking a citizen of his state, attacking even a company. I think he's since come out to say, well, he wasn't addressing me as Jimmy Agbaje, he's not addressing the company. The company is going to issue its own release, I believe, sometime this week. Again, this is a company that I have stopped running since 2006. I've since been this thing, but even then, it is my company. I'm proud of the company, and we will issue our release. And it should be clear that the governor was very short on the truth. We shouldn't get carried away with this toll thing. I am running a government realizing that government does not have the resources to provide the services that are required by the people, and therefore you must work with the private sector. The private sector must drive a lot of these processes where the government is regulating and monitoring to ensure that they are working in the interests of the people. So to that extent, we're going to work with the private sector. The toll one I'm talking about is just one of the tolls, and I've mentioned that, and that's the Victoria Island, the one to Epe, where it was envisaged that there'll be 3 or 4 tolls. Again, like I said, the PPP arrangement that was put in place was faulty, and that is why it collapsed. Very briefly, the idea behind that concession was that it would cost 50 billion to build that road to Epe, to build it in the way it started to Epe. Now, after VCC, you then say you are not doing again, and you're ready to pay back 85 billion naira. I mean, that in itself speaks volumes of the kind of arrangement that was put in place. What we're saying is that the whole structure of that PPP was faulty and must be reversed. So on that note, we're saying that particular toll, in any case, is not a PPP arrangement any longer. So you're not breaking any PPP arrangement. It's a government thing, and we're saying that that road will be free, will be toll-free. That is the position that we have taken. I think you mentioned about the other roads being built. Again, I'm one of the advocates that Lagos should fight for special status. So to that extent, I'm on record to say I support that. Having said that, we must run Lagos like it is ours. Lagos is the 5th or 6th largest economy in sub-Saharan Africa. We cannot be waiting for dole from the federal government to run our Lagos. And so to that extent, this idea that a road is federal and therefore I'm waiting to repair it when my citizens are suffering should not be the case. So for me, I believe to date, maybe the state government says that the federal government owes us 50 billion naira. Now, yeah, it's a lot of money, but it's not money that's going to kill Lagos if it has to make Lagosians feel good. So while asking that, yes, federal must pay, I'm saying that should not disturb the building of roads and all. But then you must put in place an arrangement that is workable.
Okay. All right. Just one last one, because we've really exceeded time now. Violence. What's your message to your supporters, and how do you ensure there'll be no violence?
Everywhere we go, we say that we're not for violence. And I think I'd said this at the beginning of the program. I am not for violence in any way whatsoever. And I thank God that so far, we haven't had any violence at our rallies. We haven't had any violence. We have continued to tell them that there's no violence. It's not the way forward. I come from a background where, it's about ideas. It's about talking your way through things rather than brawn. So I'm the last person you're going to see talking about violence. Okay. Having said that, it's everybody's responsibility. Jimmy Agbaje cannot stop violence right down to the line, but at least people know what Jimmy Agbaje stands for. And I do not, and I will never encourage violence. Maybe because I can't fight.
Well, it's better you don't fight. So.
Maybe because I'm not likely to win at
whatever the decision,
yes,
either way it goes, what will be your position? If you don't win, what will happen?
Life goes on. Don't forget that I've run before. Life didn't stop. I believe that we all have roles to play. I believe I'm going to win. But in the unlikely event that I do not win, life goes on. I mean, there are many roles you play. I want to believe that we've played a great role in awakening a lot of people who otherwise would not have shown interest in politics. And that's something that gives me satisfaction. And so we'll continue to do it. And what we're saying is that, we're going to show that we can play politics in a clean manner and win. And I think that will be the greatest legacy. People believe that you have to be crooked, you have to be violent to win. If we win, as I believe we will, then we'll be able to tell the people that, you see, it can be done once you are doing it properly.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very, very much. Mr. Jimmy Agbaje, alias JK, PDP governorship candidate for Lagos State, has been our guest on Soni Irabor Live Inspiration Radio today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sonny. It's been nice.
I wish you the best.
Right. Thank you.
And for you out there and all the callers, thank you. Because without you, there'll be no radio. You know that. Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.